Thought you all might begin your tour here.
Hey, it's Charles. Thanks for tuning in again to 30 to 30. I have 28 days till I turn 30, and this is the third lesson that my 20s taught me. Games are great, and shame is shit. If you recognize this individual, his name is Arthur Morgan. If you recognize him, you're probably a video gamer. He's from the game Red Dead Redemption 2. This story is placed in the late 1800s, where Arthur and his band of outlaws are part of a gang that's being chased and hunted down by the government. Take away the whole video game thing. This story is truly one of the most critically acclaimed stories ever written. The character relationships, the character development, the way that the dialogue is set up is so extremely genuine and raw. The whole game really highlights this idea that civilized human beings often judge and condemn the savagery of outlaws and criminals, but this story does a wonderful job of highlighting the hypocrisy of the savagery of civilization and how all evil men and women coat their savagery or the bad things they do in life underneath a veil of virtue. This man, Arthur Morgan, is my number one protagonist of all time. He is the most manly man in any book, movie, or video game. He's just the ultimate badass. But it's not only in the sense that he's like rough and tumble and he can go fisticuffs or shoot a gun really well. He shows incredible amounts of compassion and kindness in the moments that it matters most. The loyalty that he shows, the dedication to people who are even turning their backs on him and betraying him, taught me extremely profound lessons about, first, how to be loyal and what that looks like, but also to not let loyalty blind you from reality. When I finished the game and this story came to a conclusion, I cried so hard. I have not cried harder at the end of a movie, book or TV series, and I'm a little bit of a softie. But let me tell you, this game ruined me for like a week. I couldn't stop thinking about it because the depth of the story and the attachment that you create with its characters and the empathy that you feel for them. It is a true storytelling masterpiece. Our next characters are Joel and Ellie, survivors in a post-apocalyptic world where there's really only three factions: rebels, militants, and zombies. In that context, you think this would be a cheesy horror film, but no, The Last of Us, again, is an incredibly rich, powerful story that is only highlighted by the extreme circumstances of survival that surrounds them. Similar to Arthur, Joel has a hard, savage, abrasive, jaded look on the world and on his situation. But again, it's so understandable, it's so relatable. You sympathize so strongly with the character for what happened to him pre-apocalypse and then post-apocalypse. This is another story that at the end I was so emotionally affected by it because it was such a rich story that came to the conclusion that it came to. Throughout my 20s, and even before then, video games have created stories in my mind that have helped me understand and navigate the world, even in an identity form of way. What does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to be a hero or a leader? And also being okay with the human side of you. On the left is Commander Shepard in Mass Effect series, leader of Earth. He saves the Earth and universe multiple times by creating a team and building relationships with those team members and making extremely difficult decisions where there will always inevitably be collateral losses that will pain you and affect you throughout the game, but also personally as you chose something that caused something else to happen. And that drama plays out in a meaningful way throughout the game. In the middle, you're really a gamer if you know this one. This is Gordon Freeman from Half-Life 2. And where do I even begin with Gordon? Oh my gosh. Oh, Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2. Gordon is the OG badass in video games. He is extremely intelligent, super smart. He has great friendships and relationships that help him and that he helps them. And then on the right, of course, the legendary Master Chief, another legend and icon of great heroism and effort and determination and grit, never giving up, and even at the end, making the greatest of all sacrifices for the greater good. These are 3 video games that I have spent hundreds, if not thousands of hours cumulatively together. Dota 2, Apex Legends, World of Warcraft, and quite a few other multiplayer games, but I probably put the most time into these 3. You're usually in one camp or the other, like, holy crap, thousands of hours in these games, and then the other camp is like, yeah, totally, man. Oh, like, even though it might not be these ones, whether it's like League of Legends or a different one, you're like, dude, totally. And let me tell you why I'm not ashamed of that at all. These are multiplayer games. These are games that I've spent countless hours with friends that I would not have been able to play with or connect with or interact with otherwise. I love Netflix, love Hulu. Tiger King's been hilarious throughout the quarantine. It started a lot of really fun conversations. You know, TV's great, but let me tell you, you don't have the type of interactions that you have when you play multiplayer games. When you have to coordinate and have a competitive strategy with your teammates, that's super fun and fulfilling. Also, when you lose, it's fun to lose with other people because then you can share in that frustration and the competitive nature of it together, and that builds greater friendships. Why do I bring up all these different stories about video games and whatnot? Well, let me tell you. Because for the vast majority of my life, especially in my 20s, once I became an adult, I was shamed for my lifestyle, for being a gamer. And on all fronts, I was told that games were a waste of time, that games were a waste of life, that there were so many better things that you could be doing. Only worthless piles of crap play video games. And honestly, a lot of that narrative and rhetoric came from me to myself. A lot of that shame didn't just come to me, but I also dished that shame out to others. I reflected it as well. And let me just tell you how shitty that is. How shaming somebody for spending time in a way that's different from you, how stupid that is. How absolutely ass backwards, how hypocritical that is. We should not be shaming anybody, let alone ourselves. And to those of you in my 20s that I did shame for this, because I was on this motivational self-help tirade, I sincerely apologize. What is a waste of time is shaming ourselves for making choices to do things that we like to do. To highlight this point, as I mentioned before, I have spent confidently thousands of hours. You might even say the whole 10,000 hours to be an expert at something. I'm probably pretty close to that when it comes to the cumulative amount of hours I've put into video games. And you might think, man, Charles, you could have done so much more with that time. Well, let me share with you a list of things that I accomplished in my 20s. I'm showing this list to you to show and demonstrate that even if somebody loves to play video games and spends lots of time doing it, that they can still accomplish amazing, incredible, successful things. So let me just emphatically state one more time. Stop shaming yourself and stop shaming others for how they spend their time, especially if it's with video games. I've decided to summarize this lesson that my 20s taught me with a little poem. Put down your gavel and stop handing out shame. Judgment isn't yours, besides, you're guilty of the same. We all spend time in different ways, so why throw blame? Let's put down the gavel and pick up a game. Thanks again for tuning in. Catch you tomorrow.
The many things we learn